Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to make a book review video, and I'm thinking of making some more book review videos because I do read a lot. I've got lots of books here, I don't know if you can see them all, but yeah, I'm always reading, and I read about a book a week, so I'm kind of devouring books now. And for many years I didn't read at all, and that's because I was writing a lot and I didn't want to have interference from other people's work. And then lockdown happened and I read 30 books last year and I haven't stopped. Anyway, I usually read about spirituality, personal development, sexuality, mainly sacred sexuality. And recently, well, I came across this book, Luster, from Raven Leilani, and it's very different from the books I normally read. So today I'm going to be talking about this book, which I read last week. So I'm going to be talking about why I read the book, the author, the book plot, the characters, things I liked and things I didn't like. So if you're interested in this book, then stick around. Anyway, so Luster from Raven Leilani. Why did I read it? Well, as I said, I don't usually read fiction, but I was kindly invited to join a sex book club. And this was the book that they were currently reading, and I thought, oh, I'd really love to actually join a book club. I joined a personal development and spirituality one a while back, but now the organisers are away, so it's like, ah. But anyway, I think reading is such a solitary activity. It's kind of nice to share your reflections about a book with someone else, and also you can kind of like pick up on other things that you might not have noticed yourself. So I think I'm really loving the whole idea of it. So at first, when they told me it was going to be this book, Luster from Raven Leilan, I thought, oh no, fiction, I can't be bothered reading fiction. But then I started to actually look into this book a little bit more and research around it, and I was very intrigued. And normally I don't actually read reviews of films or books. I like to kind of go into things with an open mind that's not been influenced in any way. But this one actually, the reviews I saw about it, I was very intrigued. And there's been a lot of hype around this book. And yeah, so I think it's described as millennial fiction. And a title like Luster, you would imagine it's going to be quite erotic. And we have high hopes after 50 Shades of Grey, or do we? Yeah, so it's very, very, very intriguing. And also when there's lots of hype around something, it's, it can be, it's inevitable to actually have some high expectations as well. So you have to kind of like get that out of your mind and just kind of read it as if you didn't know there was a lot of hype around it. So anyway, the author is Raven Leilani, and this is her first novel. And yeah, so it's her first novel, and she's written for other media outlets. And this is a New York Times bestseller, so that's very impressive for a first novel. And the book is, what's it about? Well, the book plot, it's about a girl called Edie, who is a 22, 23-year-old young black woman living in Manhattan, New York anyway. And she's in a kind of lots of bad situations. The book starts when she's having, I think it's cyber sex with a guy called Eric, who's actually a married man. And yeah, during working hours. So she's working at a publisher, and I think she's already had sex with lots of guys there. And she gets involved in this kind of, I wouldn't say it's a love triangle, but she's kind of gets involved with a married man, but his wife has sort of agreed to an open marriage. So it's not your typical mistress story. And this guy's a lot older than her, but it's not your typical sugar daddy story either. And it's quite kind of hopeless in some places. I mean, for example, after a while she loses her job and ends up living with this family with Eric, his wife, Rebecca, and their adopted daughter, who is also black, and they don't know how to do her hair. And I think she's around 12, 13. So there's lots of kind of social issues around it, but it's not explicitly about that. But it's a very tall story, to put it mildly. There are lots of situations in the book that just feel very, just kind of unbelievable. For example, after she's been with this married guy, she goes to hit their house and then finds the door unlocked. I'm not sure about how many people leave their doors unlocked in this day and age. And then she kind of wanders in, and then the wife finds her. Things like that. It's a bit kind of, oh my God. So that's kind of a bit kind of, oh, but I guess things don't have to be totally real anyway when you're reading fiction. That's the whole point. That it's kind of, You're going into someone else's world and thoughts. And the way it's written, it's actually in present tense. It's very, very well written. And some things that what else can I say about this? So that's the basic book plot. So she kind of loses her job and ends up living with his family. So she doesn't have, she kind of loses her job and gets kicked out of her flat. So she's at a moment in her life which is very difficult. And there are lots of challenges in it. And it seems to be that this person is her only kind of way out, really. It's her only hope. And she doesn't really have any friends. And so the character's kind of like, oh my God, it's a bit kind of, I don't know, there are areas or times when you have empathy with her, but then she doesn't, I don't know. For me personally, someone who's a snooper, I don't like people who snoop through my things. And there's a couple of scenes in the book when she's snooping through the house of these people. And yeah, that's for me, I just don't like that, because I've been in people's houses before for days on end, and I could have accessed so many things, opened so many drawers, and I haven't touched a thing. So I'm very respectful like that. So to actually kind of get in someone's head who's doing all these things, it's kind of like, I find it difficult to connect with that type of thing. But there were other things that I did connect with though. Hang on, let me just talk about the characters in it. So the main character is Edie. So I'm just saying, yeah, she's a bit kind of, she seems to have very low self-esteem. She's struggling, and at the same time, you don't think, oh, poor thing. That's not the sensation I had. It just seemed like, oh my God. It seemed like she was getting herself into more and more sticky situations as the book went on. And then this Eric person, this married guy, well, what can I say about that? He's not anyone someone would dream of, basically. He's not God's gift to women, basically. And there is a scene in the book when I think he hits her and she's got a bruise on her face, and I think this really sends a terrible message. And there's nothing really it's not kind of a, oh my God, you hit me kind of thing. It was a kind of like consensual slap or something like that. And I just think after 50 Shades of Grey, and I think it's I don't know. I didn't leave a good taste in my mouth anyway. And also he just seems to be a bit of a loser, this guy. And when she goes to live with his family, it's actually his wife's idea, because he's away on business, and then she finds out that this girl, Edie, doesn't really have anywhere to go, and she's lost her job and lost everything. So she kind of says, come to our place. I can't remember how exactly it came up, but it seems a bit kind of unbelievable. But that's also a good thing, because there are not many representations now of non-monogamy, and it does exist. And it's kind of good to get it out there, I guess, to have different types of relationship to be kind of portrayed in fiction. And yeah, so that's kind of could be a good thing for some people. And anyway, things I liked about the book, and what else? The characters. I did find the Rebecca wife character very intriguing. At times you'd want to get into her head and think and ask, why are you putting up with this? You know what I mean? I don't know. It would have been, it would have been nice to know she was kind of having an open relationship on her side as well, if she was interested in that or not. And yeah, and there's also this the adopted girl, who seems to be quite a good character as well, kind of maybe one of the most interesting or positive characters in the book. So things I liked, well, the writing style is very interesting. It's in present tense, and it's very well written. And what's interesting is even a lot of 1-star reviews in Amazon said that they didn't like the story, but they did like the writing style, and they would still read something else from this author. So that's very interesting, an interesting point, because comparing with 50 Shades, I mean, that didn't even have good writing, so it's kind of hopeful that the next one could be different. And it does seem in this story, I'm not going to give all of it away, but I think near the end there were some seeds planted that could be a more hopeful sequel of what happens next to the character. But there were some things that I really kind of reminded me of when I was in my 20s and struggling as well. For example, she's living in an apartment with cockroaches, and she talks about mice eating her food. And for example, wearing her bathing suit as underwear because all her clothes are dirty. And there's those things like that for me really stand out, because I can remember being in situations like that. When I was living in Paris, I had cockroaches crawling over my pillow. It was kind of a normal thing in Paris, unfortunately. And I was living in a fairly good building as well. And I said to the landlord, hey, there's cockroaches. And he was like, so this is Paris, what do you expect? So it was kind of like in a very old building as well. So, and you're above a restaurant, so it's kind of inevitable really. But it was kind of at first it was like, and then you kind of got used to it, which is not a really good thing to get used to. And then I had a rat infestation in 2009, which is kind of like my desperate summer that inspired me to kind of set up my own sex blog. So yeah, I can relate to the things like that and poison. Fortunately, I didn't get my food eaten by rodents. That would have been absolutely terrible. So every time I kind of think of mice or rats, it kind of like puts me on edge a little bit. So that was a bit like that in this book. I'm thinking, how can anyone live like that? But I mean, sometimes you don't have any choice. Yes, that's quite hard. And also when I was a student, having to go to laundrettes, maybe not having the money to go, or the kind of willpower and just kind of the organisation going there with this big bag and then waiting, and then yeah, I can kind of identify with that a lot. And also hand washing your underwear to make things last a bit longer. So that really took me back, and I just thought, oh, I'm so glad I'm older. I'm so glad that's a thing of the past, and let's touch wood that it stays like that. So I really kind of liked those reflections, because I think it's a reminder that life is imperfect. And what else? It's very different from the opulence of 50 Shades, just another little comparison there. And things I didn't like. Well, I just said that before. I didn't like this kind of, this dynamic of this Edie and Eric's story. It was like, it's kind of sad though, because it just goes to show that when you're lonely in life, when you've got no friends or no one around you, you make really bad relationship decisions, and that goes when we're talking about relationships and friendships as well. I know that's happened to me many times, and I think this is a real example of that, because Eric is kind of all she has, and but if she had, like, let's say a group of good friends around her, she probably would have made very, very, very different decisions. So I think that's really, really important, because it happened to me last summer. I was walking on this pilgrimage, and one day I was feeling very lonely. I was thinking, oh, I really miss human contact. And I met this guy who was very outgoing, and I was happy to meet him at the time. But then he turned out to be some kind of weird stalker. Well, not weird, but just kind of, oh my God, if I'd been in a different situation, different circumstances, I wouldn't have given him the time of day, but it really was the circumstances that pushed me into that situation. And I thought, I've got to love myself a lot more and kind of be okay on my own before adding anyone else into my circle. Yeah, so that's very interesting. So what else? Yes, what I didn't like, that was it really, just this kind of Eric person, well, I guess it would have been maybe more dangerous in the story to have a great guy being the only thing in your life as well, because that could be even more of a dangerous story to tell, definitely. But yeah, I'm very glad I read it, and it was interesting. On Saturday I met up with the people from this book club, and we all shared our opinions and experiences on this book, and it was really good to actually share that, because I don't really often share my opinions on books with anyone. It's a very solitary thing, as I said at the beginning, and interesting. I'll definitely be looking out for more books by this author, because she does write really, really well. Anyway, what about you? Have you read this book? And also I was a bit intrigued about the title. You think Luster, that it's going to be some kind of really kind of graphic novel, and it wasn't really like that at all. There wasn't that much sex in it at all, really. And it's a bit matter-of-fact, everything. It wasn't really about the emotions. It was just described matter-of-factly, some kind of explicitness, but very, very matter-of-fact. And the vibrators in it had batteries. Oh my God, I mean, in the modern age, there are no more battery-operated vibrators. Everything is USB rechargeable these days. So that really stood out for me as a professional sex toy tester. Anyway, I'm going to leave the link to this book in the description, and if you've read it or if you've got any opinions on this book, please don't hesitate to share in the comments below. And if you have any requests for new videos, don't hesitate to contact me at venusohara.org or on Instagram at venusohara. Thanks for watching.